First, we'll look at resume layout. Start with your name nice and big in the middle, or off to the side, your choice. Include your address, city, state, zip, phone, email. Regarding email, make sure that the name that you choose for your email is professional. I actually had a student when I was working with MBA students at University of Oregon use Sweet Cherry 69 as her email, and I had to explain why that was inappropriate. So please make sure that your email is taken seriously. Then you start your resume off with your strengths or your skills summary. You used to start it off with a career objective, but that's gone by the wayside. I mean, you're doing this simply because you want a job, so that is your objective. So instead, use that space to focus on your strengths and how you are different than others and your sparkle points. Then next you get into education, because you're finishing your education. It's fresh, it's new, it's cutting edge. And do not include high school. Once you've attended college, you don't include your high school anymore. There are a few exceptions if you were valedictorian or if you had a 4.0 and were the president of the FFA, or if you had something really outstanding that you needed to share. But for the most part, you do not include high school. Lead with your degree, include the date of completion. If you haven't graduated yet, include the word expected. You don't need a specific date, just the month and year. Include the college. If you're going to be applying for jobs that are out of the immediate area, then you would also include the city and state where the college is located. You normally do not include your GPA unless it is in a finance or accounting position. And if you are going to be listing your GPA, make sure it's over 3.0, preferably over 3.5. Moving down, in your experience area, you start with the most recent job that you've had. Even though you may still have that job, all verb tenses should be in past tense. That's the standard. Format sparingly, so get rid of words like at and the and things like that. If you can use industry terms but avoid odd-sounding jargon, that's helpful. It shows that you know the industry. When possible, include percentages, add detail. Those numbers really show that you pay attention to the things that you're able to accomplish. Interests or activities are optional, but I really recommend including them. That's what an employer or prospective employer will look at and talk with you about as you're first walking into the interview. So it's a chance to break the ice, find some commonalities. People want to work with people that they have things in common with. So if you have common interests or activities, you're ahead of the game right there. I do encourage you to avoid controversial topics. For example, deep sea wreck diving or base jumping might be considered a little more than their insurance wants to deal with. So try and keep the things that you list more warm and fuzzy. Kitties, puppies, kids, feeding the seniors, housing the homeless, things that are helpful, working in the garden, reading, whatever you're interested in, but try and keep it focused on your career goal. We no longer include references in a resume because resumes are passed around person to person, and it's just no longer safe to have that person's private information posted or shared. Make sure you have 1-inch margins. Use an easy-to-read font. And mix up the style. Use bold, italic, regular, bullet points, different things to be able to showcase information well. Make sure your type font is 11 or 12 point, except for your header, your name, that can be 18 point. Let's look at an example. Julie Smith. This is her resume and her skills. By the way, if you happen to be fluent in another language, that is phenomenal. She's going to be graduating or graduated in May of 14, and her location and her school. Because she had very limited experience, we put in course highlights to add that she has some additional knowledge to be able to share. That is an optional item and depends on the person and what they have else in their resume. We've also included some volunteer work for her, communications volunteer, and some outside activities that she's been involved in. And then we finished it up with some interests that she had. Notice how in the Albertsons job experience, it's handled cash in excess of $5,000 and reconciled receipts daily. So anytime you can pull something like that in, phenomenal. Okay, let's talk about cover letters. By the way, before you submit, make sure you take out the header, the resume layout, and the cover letter layout. Be surprised at how many people leave that. It's like, you don't want to do that. Okay, make sure that the header for your resume and your cover letter match. Sometimes they get separated. It's much easier to get them together if they look the same. Include the date that you sent it, the contact name, title, company name, address, zip. That is not your information. That is for the company where you are applying. Try and find a name if you can. You can call the HR department and ask, who should I address my cover letter to? They're very willing to help, and it shows that you took additional time, that you care. Then the first paragraph specifies why you're writing. If you can include someone who referred you, you are way ahead of the game. A hiring manager for a medium to large size company gets over 1,000 resumes in a month for one job. They need one person. So they're looking to be able to narrow things down as quickly as possible because they've got 40 other things to accomplish before lunch. So they start with some basics. Was this person referred by someone? If so, you make it out of the maybe pile and into the final review pile automatically. Also, when you are writing your cover letter and your resume, make sure that you reference information from the job descriptions that are listed in the job posting. Whoever wrote that likes those words, and those are often the same words that they're going to use as search categories when they're narrowing down their materials electronically, because they're not even going to look at 1,000. They're going to put in their search categories and narrow it down, give me the top 20 that have the most items matching, and go from there. Or whatever, depending upon their specific preferences. So that introductory paragraph, I'm writing to apply for the position of blank with blank company as advertised in blank. My, and then whatever, and whatever, make me a strong candidate for the blank position. The next paragraph is the longest paragraph. That is an opportunity to elaborate on your strengths based on the job description posted by the employer. Include specific examples for how your skills and experience tie into what they want. And then close the paragraph or bullet point items with a conclusion sentence focused on how your skills and abilities will help that employer be successful. An example, my previous work experience has allowed me to develop my communications and customer service skills. During the past 2 summers, I conducted marketing research for Kimberly Nurseries, a company specializing in custom landscape designs. I surveyed over 100 homeowners regarding their home improvement activity and analyzed the data for patterns and preferences. Now I'm looking to utilize this experience by helping your company improve communication with retailers and assisting them with evaluating e-commerce possibilities for computer-based entertainment. So depending upon what your goals are and what the employer wants, you tie into that. And you'd have a couple of examples so that you're able to really showcase that, look, I am the perfect person for this. This is why. Paint them those pictures. So when I say body paragraphs, I do mean to likely have one for each of 3 skills or strengths. Then you finish with the conclusion paragraph. You reiterate your interest in the position. You identify next steps. So I'm extremely excited about the position of blank with your company and look forward to beginning the interview process. There's 2 ways to look at this. You can look at it proactively. I will contact you the week of blank to discuss my application and learn about your recruiting procedures. Or a little less in your face, I look forward to hearing from you soon. So that really depends on your personality. If you're going for a sales job, you might want the former. If you're going for a different kind of job, you might want the reactive format. So that really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Finish with sincerely, your signature, and then type your name. You can also include your phone number and email below that if you like. Below these are a couple of examples. Let's see, or as an example of a cover letter. And her opening paragraph, resume shows that I have good working knowledge, have grown up in a family of construction workers, Make sure that you pay close attention to the information that you share. Again, at University of Oregon, we had Intel and Hewlett-Packard coming in the same week to talk to students. Well, the student changed the top as I saw on the Intel website, but they didn't change, and they changed it to Hewlett-Packard on the Hewlett-Packard website, but they didn't change the bottom. I would make a strong member of the Intel team instead of Hewlett-Packard team in that case. And it became just a humorous story, and her lack of attention to detail cost her a position. Finally, there are action verbs for your resume. You can only say worked so many times, and it's so boring. You did something else. What else did you do? Did you produce something? Did you reduce? Was it something you authored? Or maybe you bargained or detailed or developed. Use words that paint pictures, and these action verbs do a lot better at painting pictures than boring words like worked with. So try and focus on that. There's a couple pages, so you have a lot of options, and when you're writing bullet points, make sure that you get specific. You want white space, but you want to be able to cleanly share the information that you want to get across. So in this case, the person was setting food up for employee lunches. Okay. Organize food supplies to increase access for busy employees during peak business hours. Sounds much better than I set out the food. So as you're working through your materials, think of the best way that you can present yourself and make sure that you realize you're marketing you. You're creating your brand with these items. Create a strong brand.